Stream. Okay. All right. Well, Georgia dominates South Carolina in this first SEC matchup of the 2021 season. The Dogs started out pretty quickly in the first quarter. I think JT Daniels threw for about 100. He went 8 of 9 for 119 yards and a touchdown in the first two drives. Then, for whatever reason, Kirby Smart took him out after Georgia was getting into a rhythm. And then Stetson Bennett throws a pick, which ended up turning into 3 points for South Carolina. But ever since then, JT Daniels got back in it. He finished with 23 of 31 for 303 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That 1 interception was, I guess, a misread on him. I don't know what route Fitzpatrick ran, but the safety, was it Foster, for South Carolina, jumped in front of the pass and picked it off. It was kind of a bad throw, too. Just a terrible read. But that's really about it. Other than that, JT Daniels played absolutely well. In Georgia, defensively, the first team, lights out. They didn't give up a touchdown, I believe, until the third quarter. And in the third quarter, a lot of the starters were out of the game, if we're being real here. But Georgia hangs on. Shout out to Frank Beamer's South Carolina team. They really fought in this game. They did not quit, which is, if you're a South Carolina fan, that's something at least you can build around because you were clearly outmatched. South Carolina rushed for less than 30 yards on, I think, 13 carries in the first half. That is not going to get it done against any SEC team. Kevin Harris had 16 carries for 31 yards. In that first half, I think they gave him the ball like 7 or 8 times. I don't even think he had a yard. That's how good Georgia's defense is. Georgia held another team under 100 yards rushing. That's now the third game in a row. Now they gave up over 100 yards to Cincinnati in the bowl game. But South Carolina rushed for 96 yards. Majority of the yards coming in the second half, just like UAB did last week. So there's that. Zeb Nolan only went 1 of 2. He got hurt. I don't remember who stepped on his hand back in the first quarter. But his first pass was a nice pass over the the right shoulder of Josh Vann, I believe, the wide receiver for South Carolina, who had a very, very, very good game. He had over 100 yards in today's game. So that's a bright spot for South Carolina. But Georgia offensively looked really, really sharp in the first couple of quarters. Stetson Bennett came in and threw that interception. I don't know why he came in the game. Kind of upset me on that, but it is what it is. But JT Daniels looked really, really good. Kind of build off what he was doing last year. Another 300-yard game for JT Daniels. And then the rush was actually really, really effective all night. We saw against Clemson in the first half, Georgia really couldn't run the ball as well, and even against UAB. But today they were really, really able to run the ball. And, Kendall Milton had 10 carries. James Cook only had 4 carries, but all his carries were explosive pretty much. Zamir White had 8 carries. Kenny McIntosh had 4 carries, but, he didn't really do much through the ground. I think he had a couple catches. Yeah, he did. He had 3 catches for 35 yards, so that's that's a plus as well. But yeah, wide receivers. Jermaine Burton had a nice touchdown back in the first quarter, I believe. A.D. Mitchell had a couple really good catches. Brock Bowers again dominating. A lot of touches out of the backfield for James Cook and Kenny McIntosh. So that was interesting to see. But Looking past to our defense, again, like I said earlier, the defense pretty much dominated this entire game, especially on that front seven. Once we got into the late third, early fourth quarter, we subbed out to second and third string guys, and Georgia still held them to 7 points, which was kind of disappointing when Ameer Speed got burnt for like the third time in today's game, which we'll talk about that in a second. Who caught the touchdown for South Carolina? It was Vaughn. Josh Vaughn for South Carolina had a really, really, really good game. Like I said earlier, all his passes were at least all his 3 catches were at least 20 yards or more, and he had 2 over 50, I believe. Oh no, he had 2 over 40. But yeah, Ameer Speed kind of let down the defense today. If we're being very nitpicky, he got burned a couple times. It was kind of disappointing to see that. Kelee Ringo, I thought played fine, played pretty well. Even our boy De'Ron Kendrick. Listen, on that pass that he gave up, I think it was to Vaughn. Vaughn just made a play. It was a 50-50 ball, and the wide receiver won that battle. But that was pretty good coverage, in my opinion. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The Dogs take care of business. They do not cover the spread. It is what it is. Georgia rolls, though, 40-13 over South Carolina. Almost rushed for 200 yards, passed for over 300. I think they had just about 500 yards of total offense, gave up about 310 to South Carolina, 214 through the air. South Carolina only completed about 48% of their passes. South Carolina did not rush for over 100 yards. Georgia did, like I said earlier. And time of possession actually went to South Carolina's favor. So that's pretty much it for the post game. Like I said, Georgia dominates South Carolina. Now, let's talk about what Georgia has in the future, which is next week. Georgia plays Vanderbilt, and my goodness, Vanderbilt played absolutely terrible today. There's really nothing you could say good out of Vandy. They're just not a good football team. I didn't really watch tons of their game today. When I turned the game on against Stanford, it was 14-14 with literally 3 minutes left in the half. And Vandy ended up giving up a field goal. Then they threw an interception that almost got returned back for a touchdown. That was a terrible read by Ken Seals. And then Stanford scores a touchdown. And then they punt it and have terrible coverage. So they ended up going down 27-14 at the half. And it's 34-17 right now into the fourth. That game is over. Georgia will be about a 34-35 point favorite against Vandy. It could even be more. Vanderbilt is one of the worst teams in the SEC. I like their QB. I really, Ken Seals. There's really nothing else great on this roster, to be honest. They have a solid running back, but Georgia's plus is the rush defense. Georgia's one of the best rush defenses in the country, if not the best. Maybe not statistically wise, but in my opinion, I think Georgia is the best, especially when Georgia's ones go against your ones or whoever ones you play. But man, Vanderbilt is the next game for Georgia. It'll be at home. Georgia's going to be it's on the road. Sorry, it's a noon game. So that means noon games are kind of tricky some points in time. But Georgia will be about a 35 point favorite in this game on the road, because Vanderbilt's one of the worst teams in the SEC, and I think they are the worst team. So I think Georgia will roll against Vanderbilt, not to look entirely ahead, but yeah, go Dogs. The Dogs really rolled today. Did not cover the spread though. I don't think that's as big as a deal as a lot of people, will make it. But if you bet money on Georgia, then there you go. You lost money, I guess. on that spread, but 31 and a half, I believe, is what the game started at. That's hard to cover, especially against pretty much any team. But I'm watching this Penn State Auburn game. So, but here is a question I think a lot of people are going to be asking. And let me pull this up. Here's a question that I think a lot of people are asking. And I've seen some, I'm in some group chats talking about, Georgia. Are the Dogs the best team in the country? We saw Alabama today against a very, very, very good Florida team. Alabama struggled. Alabama's front seven got, I'm not going to say completely dominated, but got pretty handled against Florida's offensive line, and those running backs had a really, really good game. Florida rushed for over 230 yards on Bama, 230 yards rushing. Again, it is a home game. Florida is known as more of a rush team this year, but still, with what we've seen with Alabama, Alabama was expected to have a top 4 or 5 defense this year. Maybe I'm giving that way too much. Maybe even at the least of it, top 15 defense. And they just did not show up in the run game. Emory Jones didn't really have a terrible game. He had one bad interception. Other than that, he was playing fine. He was checking it down. Dan Mullen likes to use his tight ends and running backs really, 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 really well in the passing game. But yeah, Florida had 43 carries for 245 yards rushing and four touchdown runs, 0 touchdown passes. But a complete turn in what they had last year, which was they would be passing for over 300 something yards per game and rushing for barely 100 per game. But Alabama's offense, passing looked fine. Alabama's rush game is suspect. Alabama has not rushed for more than 150 yards this year in a game. And against Florida, they rushed for just 3.3 yards per carry. They had 1 touchdown by Robinson, and they rushed for under 100 yards today. Like I've been saying, Alabama's one weakness, on the offense, is the rush game. If they can establish a rush game, their offense would be completely unstoppable. But from what we've seen today with Florida, and again, Florida is a very, very good team, okay? So, even me as a Georgia fan, I didn't really respect Florida as much as I should. But, again, Florida is a very, very good team. They are a top 15, maybe even close to top 10. I'm not going to jump the gun and say they are a top 10 team. But Alabama was not able to run the ball. They could not stop the run. Georgia, what is Georgia's best quality on defense? The rush defense. So, and then you look at Alabama's passing. They were able to pass the ball They were able to pass the ball in this game, but they could not really complete a deep ball. And in fact, Alabama did not complete a deep ball. The longest passing play in this game was 29 yards. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was on a screen, on a slant. The other one was on a screen. They had like a 26-yarder, I believe, on a screen. So once again, Alabama's inability to complete a deep ball and run the ball offensively could be their weakness. And Georgia does really, really well in the short to medium game as well. And really, if you've been watching Georgia's defense all year, they've been pretty lights out. Now, Amir Speed got burnt a bit, but I think Georgia definitely has a case to being the best team in the country, okay? I think quarterback-wise, if JT Daniels plays like this every week, there's not going to be a lot of teams that are going to be able to stop Georgia. But defensively, again, this defense is probably the best in the country. Alabama's defense, I still believe, is top 15. Offensively, Georgia's more balanced. Georgia can run the ball. Alabama hasn't really been able to run the ball as efficiently as you'd like to see them. I personally believe Alabama is still number one, okay? But I think Georgia is so close, and Georgia is still without some key players. Kearis Jackson, I think did actually catch a pass today. Still haven't seen Don Blaylock, George Pickens. We won't see him for a couple weeks. Tyke Smith, Darnell Washington. Once they get these guys back, could Georgia really, really be the best team in the country? And I think they can. I really think they can. Now, who's number 3 is beyond me. I don't know. I really don't know. Is it Iowa, Oregon? I really don't know. Number 3, after number 2, it is whoever. Okay, maybe it's Ole Miss. I don't know. But Georgia has a strong case to be the number 1 team in the country. Period. Anyway, if you want to, what else you want me to talk about? Ameer Speed did not play good at all. He gave up over 100 yards. Period. So it is what it is there. Auburn is on the road against Penn State right now. I guess Penn State just got a huge stop. So Penn State will be taking over. And yeah, Penn State will be taking over at the 2-yard line. Oh, who else played today? Kentucky played today. Like I said before with Georgia and who they play in the future, Kentucky was a team I was kind of worried about, not entirely, but they struggled against Chattanooga. Like I said, talked about Florida a bit. Florida's going to be a good team this year. But Georgia's defense, cornerback number 2, still a question. I really, really like Kelee Ringo, though. I really, really like Kelee Ringo, and I hope he's the new cornerback number 2. Ameer Speed not having a good game today. Josh Vann and what was the other wide receiver's name? I think his last name was Brooks. He had an amazing one-handed catch. Who was that against too? I forget. It may have been on Speed too. No, it was on Lasser, the true freshman cornerback for UGA, Lasser. And that's just a wide receiver making a play. There's nothing else you can really say about that. Luke Doughty came in to relieve Zeb Nolan. Zeb Nolan got hurt, like I said earlier. Luke Doughty, he didn't really have that much time to throw. Yeah, Georgia's pass rush, didn't really talk about this. Georgia's pass rush was pretty good today, per usual. I don't think they got a lot of sacks, though. I think they got, 2 sacks? 1 or 2 sacks. Of course, I can't pull it up on here. From what I'm gathering, I think Georgia had 1 or 2 sacks. But yeah, 21-6 was the halftime score. 26-6 was the halftime score. And Georgia came out defensively, absolutely dominated in the 2 possessions that South Carolina had the ball. Georgia ended up getting 2 turnovers. So that was pretty interesting, to say the least. And I think Kay Walker recovered a fumble. Who forced that fumble? On the defensive line, that was the first sack of the game. And then Georgia had a tipped interception by Kendrick. That was a little bit high by pass by Luke Doughty. Kevin Harris should have caught that. Who does Georgia play next week? Vanderbilt. Georgia will be about, and it's a road game, but still Georgia should be around a 34 to 36.5 point favorite against Vanderbilt on the road. So see if Auburn can get a stop. This is a huge game. I actually picked Auburn to win, believe it or not, on the road. But the Big Ten really, really, really needs this win, at least in my opinion. But yeah, what else we were talking about? Yeah, Kevin Harris. It was a screen pass too. Had the ball right. I think the pass was a little bit high. I was like up here. Should have caught it. Should have caught that pass. Got tipped. De'Aaron Kendrick picked it off. Georgia ended up scoring, I think, on a touchdown pass by JT Daniels. So, yeah, Georgia just dominated. They handled Clemson, South Carolina, whatever you want to say there. This game just really was never close. Like I said earlier in the first quarter, it was the first quarter. Kirby Smart takes out JT Daniels for no apparent reason. Stetson Bennett comes in, throws a pick, and a terrible interception. I just waited to talk about this until the end. I really don't know what that was. I don't know what Kirby Smart was thinking in that situation. Brock Bowers was open, but that pass was about 2 feet way too high, and he just threw it basically right to the safety. And and then when JT Daniels threw his interception, it was right to the safety too. That was another bad interception. But yeah, 2 interceptions and then 1 fumble by Kendall Milton. So South Carolina actually won the turnover battle by one less turnover. But again, that just didn't matter. Man, Ole Miss is putting it on Tulane right now, 33-14. But yeah, offensive line played I thought well. They were able to create holes for these running backs. Kendall Milton looked really, really good, had 1 fumble. Zamir White looked good. James Cook, get him out in space. Watch out. Arian Smith actually did not play in this game as well. Wide receiver I didn't really talk about. But Kyrus did, barely played offensively, so don't know how much that counts. But yeah, I'm just rambling now. Don't really know what else to talk about. If anyone else wants to say anything, go ahead. We already talked about Vanderbilt. Like I said, Georgia should be a 34. This is a road game. It's a noon game, but Georgia still should be a 34-point favorite at least. Vanderbilt looks terrible. Vanderbilt's getting blown out at home to Stanford anyway. So, and then after that, Georgia plays Arkansas. Is that who they play? Georgia plays. I gotta look it up now. I think Georgia plays. Shout out to UAB. UAB destroyed North Texas. UAB looks like a ranked team. Yeah, Georgia plays Arkansas. That might be on CBS, depending on what Arkansas does next week. They play A&M in Arlington. Ooh, that's going to be a really good game. That's going to be like a 20-13 type game. No, Auburn got to stop. So we'll see if Bo Nix can pull some magic for the Tigers on the road. But anyway, yeah. Georgia will roll against Vanderbilt too, in my opinion. Will they cover 34, 35, 36 points? Yeah, they should. UGA should cover 30, whatever the spread is. If the spread is ridiculous, like in the 40s, I don't know. Listen, I would never bet anything when it comes to the spread over like 30-something points. I don't know. Now, last week I said I would take Georgia in the points against South Carolina, and guess what happened? They didn't cover. So you can take my words and do whatever with them. But looks like Auburn has one last chance with 38 seconds. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. The Dogs roll against South Carolina as expected. This game obviously wasn't really close. JT Daniels played really, really, really well. We'll talk about that in a sec. JT Daniels looked really, really good today. He almost completed about 80% of his passes, specifically in the percentages. I think 75% or something like that, a little bit lower. But yeah, he was making the right reads almost all day, except for one or two bad throws. One was actually intercepted, but it is injury. Honestly, for being real, it looked like nothing was affected with his throwing motion. He completed almost every deep ball. I think he went 3 for 4 on his deep ball or something like that. So that's another plus side for UGA's offense. Georgia was able to run the ball, but that offensive line really, really played well. They only gave up what 1 or 2 sacks in this game, and I would consider both of those coverage sacks. I believe when JT Daniels did take a sack, he had about 2.5 seconds in the pocket, so that's a covered sack. I could be mistaken, but that's from what I remembered. I haven't been able to look at this game again. But yeah, JT Daniels looked really, really sharp. He was making the short to medium passes look pretty easy. The offense is just starting to get a groove on. This offense looks like it did last year. Georgia scoring 40, 50 points on solid opponents. South Carolina's probably not going to be a bowl-eligible team this year. UAB will be, and UAB, other than the Georgia game, has completely dominated every opponent that they've played. I think they're, 3-1 now? Yeah, UAB is going to be winning their conference, guys. They are a very, very good team. So that was a plus side, beating them by 50 points. But yeah, Georgia's offensive line's been playing good. Running backs have been playing really, really well, especially Kendall Milton and Zamir White. James Cook has been getting some valuable touches, making the best out of it. Wide receivers stepping up. A.D. Mitchell, Jermaine Burton, obviously from last year, not now a sophomore, but A.D.'s been playing really, really well. Brock Bowers has probably been raising a lot of eyebrows with how well he's been playing. And yeah, Georgia's offense looks very, very, very good. Once they get Blaylock back, a healthier Kearis Jackson, George Pickens, Washington back, all these guys come back, this offense is going to be insane and could be, dare I say, unstoppable. Maybe that's a little bit too far-fetched. But yeah, Georgia's offense is going to be very, very good this year, and I think they will live up to the hype. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week when Georgia plays Vanderbilt on the road. That's a noon game, so I'll probably be on this live stream around 3 p.m., 3:30-ish, because I really do not expect that to be such of a good game anyway. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.